Yay, science! Ah! Are you guys feeling that way about science, that you just can't contain your excitement? I hope so. Okay, so by the look of this picture, I wonder if you know what we're going to talk about today. But before then, just know the light can be seen at the end of the tunnel. You guys only have maybe 5 more units, which, we do 2 a week, so we're going to fly through these the next 3 weeks or so. So the light is at the end of the tunnel. You won't hear too much more from me, so you guys can all be like, no more Howie. Anyways, so what's next? How about a bit more on how science affects us as a society? And why I say that is because today we're going to focus on agriculture. And agriculture is a science, and it's really cool because there are so many different aspects of science to that. Not only from when we talk about the history and how that technology has progressed over time, but also kind of what is going on when we talk about agriculture and society as a whole. So let's get into that, right? So agriculture and society. So who really knows? And I want you guys to think about, what is agriculture? What comes to your mind when you hear that word? Just think about it. And I posted a picture on here because this is what I think about. I think about like this beautiful farmland that basically only has to do with farming. It's always like usually wheat or something like that. That's what comes to my mind when I think of agriculture. But that is such a small portion of it. So think about, what do you guys think about when you hear that word? Is it something more than that? Is that exactly kind of what you imagined? So let's kind of go into that, because you'd be amazed at how much agriculture kind of, basically brings together a bunch of different things. My words are kind of slipping my mind right now. So agriculture is the science and business, which I think is interesting, of farming. It includes all the technologies associated with making useful products from plants and animals, which is so abundant. I mean, think about the things, again, I've had you guys do this in the past couple lessons, where you think about stuff that you use on a daily basis. Think about all the ways that you use agriculture. When you think about all the technologies associated with making useful products from plants and animals, we've talked about all the different things that we use from plants and animals, and the fact that we eat them. Okay, that's part of agriculture. So let's go into it a little bit more in depth where we'll talk about some examples. So crops grown for humans, animals, clothing, landscaping, fuel. So crops are grown for so many different things. Sometimes we just think crops are grown for us to consume, but really sometimes those crops are grown for animals to eat, or for clothing, okay, landscaping, and even we make fuel out of a lot of them, in particular corn. Wood for all uses, okay, we use wood for so many different things, and that is yet another part of agriculture. And livestock products, whether it's the actual livestock, the cow, the beef that we eat, the pork that we eat, or products that come from that, okay? So that's a lot about what agriculture is. Clearly, it's pretty important, okay? So I just put this because I wanted a slide of its own to show you guys and make you guys think agriculture is so important. And you'll see, if you guys are into documentaries, you guys should check out. There's a lot of documentaries that talk about the fact that some of these agricultural, kind of jobs are going away. That's a big, kind of a scary thing. So think about how important it is, and that we would never want to see agriculture suffer or go away. So here's some quick history, and there's some more that's in your unit, so please read through your unit, but think back to the olden days, which is not in your time period, not even in your mom's time period, not in your grandparents' time period, probably even before that. Maybe your great-grandparents could possibly recall when farming was done with animals and these kind of plows, and it was very, very laborious. I mean, very difficult work, okay? But the people roamed land, hunting and gathering. This is even before hunting, or before agriculture started. So basically, people would kind of move from one place to another because they would be hunting and gathering, and then all of a sudden they'd say, oh, okay, well, let's move and let's hunt and gather somewhere else because we've hunted this area. But things started changing, and people began to settle down once plant and animal domestication began to occur. So once they started planting things in the ground and harvesting things and growing these livestock, these heads of cattle and whatever else that they began to do, they could settle in one place and not have to move from place to place, which was a big deal because then they could work this land like you see this here, okay? But then, 17 and 1800s, people started getting a little bit more smart. And I don't really mean smart I mean they were more efficient. Hey, let's figure out a way to do this that cuts back a little bit on the work. So they started developing some of these machineries, okay? Ways of harvesting more and more food and livestock with the use of these various machines. So, they started kind of figuring out ways to kind of make their jobs easier and faster. And now, I mean, look at this. This is a big, I don't know the name of farming equipment. All I know is when I went to school in North Dakota for 1 year, agriculture and farming is huge up there. And so I got to actually ride in a combine, which I'm not even sure if this is, I don't think this is a combine. I think this is a harvester, but I have no idea. I did not grow up on a farm. I learn more about it every day, but it's pretty cool to see some of these farm equipment. And if you guys live on, I don't know where you guys are all over the place, but some of you guys might be out on the eastern plains of Colorado, and you're very familiar with this stuff. You guys could teach me some stuff. But it's really interesting to see the technology and how it's changed and how much it helps in the world of agriculture and how, fast things go and how efficient. So it's pretty cool. Okay, so natural resources, once again, we always kind of touch back on that. Well, yes, all these different things that we talked about with agriculture are considered natural resources, okay? Natural resources will grow back. So that's why every year you have a harvest, and then you plant and you cultivate, and then you have that harvest again where you can take those crops and basically take them from the land and they regrow. So they are natural resources, which is very important. We need this stuff for so many reasons, okay? Daily, you need the use for food and clothing, wood products, and those biofuels that are so important for us even, when it comes to heating our home and running our cars and stuff like that, okay? So obviously these natural resources are really important. We also need to think, though, about how we grow them and what's needed, okay? Soil, sunlight, water, mineral resources. Sometimes we start to deplete these things, and then harvesting and growing in this agricultural basically can start to suffer, okay? So we need to think about how they're grown, what they need, and make sure that we're preserving our land enough to continue to grow these natural resources year after year. But I want you guys to know it is different for different areas, that different agricultural products are going to grow in different places. Colorado may be known for, certain things, whereas Florida is known for other things, okay? Depending on the climates, right? Some products grow better in certain areas based on its needs. So that can be, when you read through this, it says depends on soil, climate, water availability, topography. Topography is kind of the layout of the land. Look at this topography. You have very steep hills, but yet you can still grow lots of different things. If any of you guys have ever seen a vineyard, vineyards tend to grow better on hills. So it's kind of cool. So basically, the description of the shape of land is your topography. But all of that comes into play to basically give each different type of land and different type of area a different product that grows, or a different, crop that grows better. So just know that there are differences. And then the last thing that I want to really kind of touch on before we end is basically the factors that influence agriculture, okay? So soils, whether or not the soil is rich in nutrients, okay, or it's depleted in water, which goes down here too, water accessibility. If you have soil like this that is very dry, lacking minerals, do you think a lot's going to grow here? Probably not, okay? The topography can sometimes influence. If you have very steep terrain, very high altitude, you may not have things that grow obviously up in that, that part of that area. Think about if any of you guys have ever hiked to 14er, you reach timberline, okay? Timberline is where basically the trees stop growing, okay, usually around 11,000 feet, and basically it's fairly barren. Now, not to say that there's not, vegetation, but it's very different. So you wouldn't find a lot of things that may grow above that as you would see it below that timberline area, okay? Obviously, water accessibility is huge because everything needs water to grow. Shade, but overall climate is what I'm getting at. So if there's, think about Death Valley, California, where there's pretty much no shade and the average temperature is 110 degrees, average, over the entire year. That means it could get as hot as maybe 130. Obviously the sunlight and that climate is going to cause it to, not grow a ton of things. But the climate is going to really influence what grows and how it grows. So whatever else that is a part of that particular agriculture is a factor that would influence it. Okay, so lots of things that influence agriculture. It's very important. You guys have to know. It's interesting to think about, that this is a science unit, but there's a lot of science into, the soils and how things grow, photosynthesis, and so forth. So we like to talk about agriculture. So anyways, keep that in mind, and hopefully it opened your eyes to some new things. All right, we'll see you next time.